Hey guys, I'm James, and with me is John,
I'm John.
and we tried to podcast. In today's episode, we watched a couple episodes of Boy Meets World, one of our favorite sitcoms from 90s,
Yeah,
right?
into
Okay.
2000s, but yeah, it started in the 90s.
I feel like it definitely has a more 90s focus, at least to me. But yeah, both me and John enjoyed Boy Meets World back in the day. And we talked about it in our behind the scenes videos and maybe on the podcast itself about like doing watching it season by season, but that takes a lot of time and effort, and each season is like what, 22 episodes, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, 20 plus for sure.
Yeah. So what we decided to do was watch the first episode, the last episode. We each picked an episode we remembered, and then picked we had a random generator pick out two other episodes. So those episodes were, well, season 1 episode 1, the pilot, season 1 episode 4, Corey's Alternative Friends, season 3 episode 13, New Friends and Old, season 5 episode 17, and then there was Sean, season 7 episode 2 for Love in Apartments, and finally season 7 episode 23, Brave New World,
Part 2.
part 2.
Did you watch
Uh
the first part?
I did.
Okay, I did too.
Okay. um if you didn't watch those and you just want to follow along, it's fine. I don't know how much we'll talk. This is a new idea that we're testing out. It might be something we try again in the future, or this might be our one time using it. But if you watched it, you might get a little bit more enjoyment out of the show. We announced these episodes last time in our bonus episode from last month. John, is there anything you want to say about Boy Meets World before we start?
I mean, not anything that I haven't said before, you know. It was the main show I think I watched. I watched a lot of shows. I've watched so many things, but that was my favorite show growing up cuz not only did I watch it literally as I was growing up cuz it was from like the early 90s to like 2000, but even after that, I think it was on ABC, I think originally, and then it
Yes.
got moved over to Disney though for a while, right? So I
Yes.
watched it as it was showing on ABC, but then when it was on Disney and they had them just like playing every day, that was one of those shows that I just watched every day. So I've seen it multiple times, between those two, runs. And then a couple of years ago I just binge watched it when it was on put on Disney Plus as well.
Yeah, I think for me, especially like when it used to be like the reruns, like I stayed home sick from school. That's what I watched, because it was in that time slot. Or I like even think for a point at time, it was like what Friends is right now for me, where they just have it playing from 11 p.m. till 5 in the morning. I think at one point it was like that on the Disney Channel, and that's how I kind of watched it. I guess let's start with episode 1, the pilot for Boy Meets World, where we get introduced to the main character, Corey Matthews, who has a very uh, normal nuclear family, a brother, an older brother, little sister, father, mother. Mother seems to work at home. Father, not work from home, is a housewife. Is
Yeah.
that the term? I
Yeah.
I feel like that's a term that's
Outdated?
yes,
Yeah.
but I guess that's what she was.
A
And then the
homemaker is what they is
oh,
even
is that?
more out that's more
Oh,
outdated.
okay, okay, okay. What is the term nowadays? Stay at
I
home
mean,
parent?
yeah, stay at home. Stay at
Okay.
home mom. But that still doesn't sound any better to me, but whatever.
No, it doesn't. And then the father is kind of like, I don't think it's like spelt out in the episodes we've watched, but he's like a blue collar, worked himself way up into being able to support his family, kind of
Yeah.
a father
Yeah.
figure.
Yeah, for most of the show, he's like a manager, the GM of a grocery store, I believe.
Oh, yes, that's
But then
right.
he ends up getting his own business later on.
Yes, yes. Um, and let's just talk about the intro sequence because it
Are you talking about the
what
theme?
yeah,
Oh
like
yeah, I forgot how bad it was for the original.
well also like later on they kind of like shortened it down, made up some I'm assuming they made up a song. I don't think the song actually exists where it's like boy meets world
Mhm.
later on and then that's literally all they use and they go straight into the show.
Okay, but the original theme is nothing like that one.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
music is not the same. There's no song. It's just this annoying. I don't even know.
Childlike wonderment, I guess.
I guess, and maybe they thought it sounded cool at the time because it's clearly like made on like a computer or something. You know what I mean? And like,
Yes.
yeah, it just and then the intro is just like a Photoshop, Adobe effect. I mean, these things didn't exist, but it's like that kind of feel. Like someone just slapped it together. But I'm sure it was like cool at the time. I
Oh
guess.
yeah, yeah. Like I don't know, like uh I don't even remember if the intro for the show was like that, but like Clarissa Knows It All. Do you know that show? No?
I
You
know
giving me?
the name, but I've never watched it.
Okay. Like old Nickelodeon,
Mm,
like
yeah, yeah,
doodles going like moving into like different
yeah.
things. Um because hey, we got computers now. But my biggest takeaway is like it's showing all the characters, the actors, and no Topanga, who is a very central point for pretty much all seasons. Like she gets introduced in episode 3 or no, episode 4 that we'll talk about. Um
I
but yeah,
think she
she
just didn't have a part in that episode because you know that the pilot is not the first time these characters were like introduced.
what do you mean?
There was another show that they did where it was like a smaller part of it, and it was like they got the idea for the show based on that one thing, and they
Oh,
were
okay.
yeah, and I think she was in that.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure they always planned to bring her in. She just wasn't in the pilot for whatever reason.
Well, still the intro it was the same in the season episode 4 that we watched
Hmm.
where she did not have any kind of top billing. She's not a part of that at all.
Oh yeah. Oh no, but because they didn't know where that was gonna go for sure.
Right.
But you can tell that with everyone involved. Like
They had
it,
Minkus,
they did, but
which I thought that
but
was funny because he does
but
not show up in episode 1.
but they didn't even know who Corey's friends were gonna be clearly because
Yes.
they knew Sean Hunter would be his friend, but they didn't know he was gonna be the best friend. It looked like they were gonna try to be a trio at first because I don't know who the fuck. I
Yes.
forgot about that kid. I was like. And then they replace him immediately with another kid that is clearly not going to work out as like a part of a trio.
Yeah, and I literally wrote down who is this third boy?
Yeah, so
uh
Corey and Sean are sitting with this third kid at the table in the pilot that just he looks familiar. Like I think I saw him as a kid in other things, so I maybe there was a plan for them, but
right.
I don't know why it just didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, Sean got top billing, so they knew he was going to be the best friend. But I guess they were trying to keep it like, I guess, more realistic, where generally people don't have generally people have a group of friend of 2 to 3 uh extra people. But yeah, I don't know. At some point that did get dropped, and it's just like it was always uh Sean and Corey, and then like later on they tried to retroactive like, oh, it was always Corey and Topanga, and then yeah, I still remember how weird the canon of the show kind of goes. um,
No, but the my favorite thing about the Corey and Topanga thing is that every time they tell the story, they get younger. Like, of how
yes,
they met. Like, at first it was like, "Oh, it was when they were in school," and it's like, well, they did, but it's not like they got along right away, you know? I mean,
right.
they they did, but he kinda, like, pushed her away, right? And then it was like, oh, it was before that when they were like in preschool. And then it was like, oh no, it was before that when they were like toddlers. And then it was like when they were born.
Yeah, that was always a weird thing. But whatever. I mean, this was a long running television show,
Yeah.
so I guess that makes sense. But it did get like a little too ridiculous.
I don't know. It was funny to me. Like cuz like I said binged it. It was just a joke. Like cuz the show
Right.
just got more silly as it went along,
Yes. Yeah.
So
But yeah, no Topanga in this episode. No Minkus, even though he had top billing. Uh, but we have Mr. Feeney, who's another main character, and just from the start of this episode, I'm just like, he's such a strong character.
well, is he a strong character or is that actor just such a strong presence in the role? Because I feel like he does the heavy lifting. You know what I mean? You could have
Yes.
somebody else do it, and they could come across as he comes across as someone you actually do want to see, and like if you're a kid, like, oh, I want him to be my teacher. But if it was like someone else, you'd be like, he's an asshole. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't want this guy around. Like, he sucks. You would be on Corey's side on everything. Like, oh, he just hates him. You know what I mean? But immediately the way he performs it, you know that's not the case.
Yeah. Like, it's definitely like he's a brilliant actor, I think. And so, just put it out there, some of the actors of Boy Meets World, they started a podcast where they watched all the episodes and all that stuff. And I think they, from that or some article I read, like I don't know the actor's name for Mr. Feeney, so I'm just gonna call him Mr. Feeney. Uh, he like discussed how he wanted the character to be, because he didn't want it to be like mean old teacher who, kids dunk on and
Yeah.
go about their day.
And it
Like,
easily could have been that. That's yeah.
yeah.
So he was on the podcast?
They definitely had him on for a couple episodes.
Okay. Cool.
It definitely feels like his presence and his character is remained strong and remained relatively the same.
Yeah, because even in the final episode, it was
Oh,
the
dude,
same vibes.
we'll
And
get
man, that
there,
was such
but
a
yeah,
good
I
yeah.
cried. uh, but I guess the theme of this episode was love. Mr. Feeney is trying to teach Romeo and Juliet. Corey Matthews doesn't care, listening to a radio, gets in trouble, gets detention, blah blah blah. And then, so there are like two main defining factors they put on Corey in this first episode. One that kind of drifts away later in the seasons, and one that I feel is core to the Corey character. The one that kind of drifted away was he's a big baseball fanatic. He loves baseball. He's a middle school kid, you know. And the other feature of Corey is he's a dramatic piece of shit. Uh, because he got mad that his brother wanted to take a date to a baseball game that the brother promised to take
No,
him to.
okay. Well, so he's a kid.
Yes,
But
yes. No, no, no. Yeah, yeah.
actually, I'm
But don't
glad
tell
that
me later on in the seasons he's not dramatic as fuck.
oh, he is, but that's because but everyone is an exaggerated version of themselves as the season goes on, which is one of the things I don't like, but leads to some funny stuff. But no, I'm glad you brought that up though, because for me, like you're right, like there was that with Mr. Feeney, there was that whole plot, but I was more interested in that actually, what you just brought up with the brother, because it sets the tone to me for the rest of the show. I'm talking about
Mm.
through all 7 seasons where and Mr. Feeney lays it out for him too that or was it his mom actually? I think it was his mom. No, his mom has a conversation with him where she's pretty much like the issue you have right now is that you don't like that things are changing. That
Mm.
people's priorities change, people change. They need different things at different points in their lives, and what someone else needs is not going to be what you need, and that's going to be ever changing, So you just kind of got to accept that, right? And obviously, as a kid, that's hard for him to accept. He doesn't like the idea that his older brother is getting even older and is in a different place in his life, and that he wants to date, and that he doesn't want to spend all his time with his little brother anymore.
Right. But also, like, because, like, his family was happy that, his brother Eric got a date and was taking her out to this baseball game, and Corey felt, I don't know.
Betrayed.
Yeah,
No, but
betrayed.
yeah, but that's still his reaction to being afraid of change, and then no one taking his side. Like he wants people to be like, no, we can make it be okay for you. But he's like, oh no, this is acceptable that, you can just change on me? Like, this is fucked up.
It it's not that part where I'm like, "Oh, he's dramatic." It's
Mhm.
when he goes like, "I'm moving out. I'm living in the treehouse now."
Yeah, but kids do shit like that.
Yes.
Again, this always goes to me going, you didn't have enough siblings.
Yes, yes, yes.
Because like I can picture, my brother Will doing something like that, my sister Lanny doing something like that. Like they are dramatic, when and he's the middle child too.
Right,
They
yes.
gave him
Yeah.
middle child syndrome.
Uh,
But it leads to funny shit, right? Like, because he actually does like want to move out, and where's he gonna go? He has a treehouse that he tries to like just be in. His mom comes to bring him food, and he's trying to. He takes it, but he's kind of like his attitude is so funny because he's just like, "Don't you see? I'm like on my own now." It's like you're still living in the treehouse in your mom's and dad's backyard.
uh, I'm not saying it's not funny or not realistic, I'm just saying
It's
it's a bit
dramatic.
dramatic.
No, it is. It is. What was the funniest part of the episode to you? Because I don't know. I have a couple, and I don't even know if I can sell it on here. Like it was just like the context of the scene, but we'll see.
I guess the one I'm, like, focusing on now, I don't know how funny it is, but it's when Eric comes back from the date and he's like, "It was a fucking mess. I'm never dating again. Didn't know how to talk to a girl," which, I get. And then it's just, Corey going, like, after getting the lesson about love from, Mr. Feeney, him going like, "No, call the girl. Go watch a movie. You're not supposed to talk when you watch a movie." It's just like a weirdly sage advice from this tiny child
Yeah,
to
and
his
stuff like
older
that
brother.
happens all the time. Yeah, and he says, like that going to a movie would be perfect for you. It's like perfect for your skill level or something
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
that.
It's more your speed, something to that effect.
For me, it was I mean, that actually you're right, that is like a funny moment where like it's actually written funny. There's like other parts where it's just like the delivery that Corey has, especially man, I feel like I'm not saying he wasn't funny in the later episodes, but because they had everyone being like cartoonish, I feel like he was funnier to me with the drier delivery, you know?
Mm,
Because when he was a little kid, it was just so funny to me. Like when he's listening to the game in the class and
right?
Feeney pulls out the thing and he starts acting like he's deaf, like it was a hearing aid. Like that
Oh,
shit
right,
was
right,
so
right.
funny to me. um when Feeney gives him the spiel about Romeo and Juliet, and he's like almost like he's intense, almost upset, by the audacity of Corey. He goes, "Are you aware I'm only 11 years old?" Those were like my two favorite moments, I think.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess, the general theme was love. Love is the reason Corey is here on Earth, meeting the world. But yeah, for me, like, I haven't seen this episode in a long time. Like, the Stark thing was like, oh, right, Topanga wasn't a main listing, even though she plays a huge role, even in this season. Like,
Right.
it's just weird that she doesn't have like a top billing. It's just odd. Um, it's especially it's odder when it's like Minkus has a fucking top billing. And the only other thing was that was not the classroom. It's a pilot, so things change. It was just something to show like executives, and then that's what they show. But yeah, that classroom is just like it felt too real.
Wait, what do you mean?
I don't know. Like Well, you know how it changes from that classroom to uh the other. You did notice that, right?
I didn't notice. I didn't
How?
notice. I don't know. I wasn't paying
The
attention to the classroom.
the door is up against the wall, not to the left side. Um, the other classroom, the door is on the left side. The desk is on the right side. The chairs are facing to the right instead of to the left. And I think it had I think the chairs might have been different, but I'm not entirely sure on that. But the chairs in like the pilot looked a lot
So you're saying they
grungier.
filmed it like in an actual classroom?
It kind of had that sense to me, yes.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense because why would you build a set for a show you don't know is going to get picked up?
Yeah, yeah.
See, nowadays everything just gets picked up to series like right away. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention. I didn't notice.
Wow. That was like the thing that smacked me in the face. I'm like, this is not my classroom. I want my classroom. Do you have any other takes for season one, episode one?
No, I mean, it was a perfect pilot for the show to me. Like I
Yeah.
said, it sets a lot of what the show is in this first episode, and it's funny. And you, other than Topanga, do introduce a lot of the key characters. I really liked it. Like,
Yeah. I guess the only other thing we didn't mention is like Mr. Feeney, the teacher who's the mentor. He's also Corey's neighbor. And during the treehouse scene, Corey sees uh, Mr. Feeney setting up a like dinner for two, gets a phone call, looks sad, puts away a plate and eats by himself. And like the end scene is like Mr. Feeney asking out another teacher and then saying like, "Oh, I'm a great cook. My sister was supposed to visit me, but she had to cancel." And then he looks over to Corey and goes like, "You are you confused now?" Yes. Good. I'm just wondering, like, was Mr. Feeney telling the truth there? Because that seemed very romantic of a setup for a sister visit.
I don't know. That just seems like how Mr. Feeney would serve food to me.
I don't know. It's just like if the candles were not involved,
Oh,
uh, everything else is just like okay, sure. But the candle that threw me off. But maybe he eats every meal with a candle. I, I could see that. But yeah, it was a good, strong like first episode. Again, Corey is a very strong character, and Mr. Feeney being the mentor figure is incredible. The next episode we watched was season one, episode 4, Corey's Alternative Friends, which was your pick for the episodes. So do you want to like talk about it?
this was the episode. Well, I'm gonna say it because you've seen it this way. This was the episode where Corey became self-conscious about his hair because he's got very curly hair. It's like basically a fro, and he overheard these two. I guess like they seemed to have the vibe of like they're kind of popular girls or whatever
Right.
talking about someone, and they said what was the they
Brillo
Brillo
head?
head. Yeah, they described him as a Brillo head. He thinks they're talking about him, and that just makes him spiral because that's how Corey is. And he's just like, what am I supposed to do with this? Um, so he decides to straighten it, and it goes terribly. He's got the worst fucking straight hair I've ever seen. It like it's like a helmet of hair, and like
Yes.
when he wears a hat, it like takes the form of the hat too, and then he has like a duck bill hair thing going on. But the reason for the title, Corey's Alternative Friends, is because people keep making fun of him, or he feels like he can't even hang out with like Sean because not only he's making fun of him, but also because like he's like not cool enough to be with Sean. 'Cause Corey's always down on himself about
Yes.
something, and so then he ends up hanging out with like
The
how would you describe
outcast.
the outcasts? Yeah, because they're all different. I can't say like they're like all nerds or geeks. They're all different, very different people. And that's actually how he like hangs out with like Topanga.
Well, yeah, he hangs out, but he also got put in a project with her
Class assignment with her, yeah.
because Mr. Feeney did not like the assignment he did with Sean. Even though, honestly, even though even though they change it to baseball, like, I don't know, they seem to have researched what they were supposed to research. They just turned the assignment to what they're interested in, which was stupid.
But wait, but what was the assignment? Because they were just shouting out facts about like
It
baseball in these
seems
locations.
it was about pollution. So they were
Okay,
talking about how different two different cities had
have
different like pollutions, and
yeah,
then
how
going
it
like
affected the teams.
the baseball teams. Yes.
No,
Um,
the funny like visual gag in that scene though is that they pull out pointers like to like
yes.
slap the map with, but they're not looking at all at what they're doing, so they just keep slapping like a random country and then going Denver and like and then Mr. Feeney has to keep like moving it to the right spot. But then even though they're already on the place he corrected them, they slap it again, a different country, Denver.
Oh man. Yeah, there are good gags in these early episodes. But yeah, so Sean got teamed up with Minkus, and this was probably like one of the few times Sean was positive on Minkus, going like, he doesn't trust me, and he's the best student in the class, so he's just gonna do everything and put my name on it. So Minkus is like a god to me. I think that's like legitimately what he says.
Yeah.
And Corey gets teamed up with Topanga, who is hippy dippy kind of alternative girl,
Spiritual.
spiritual, yes.
Yeah.
Like she goes like, "Let me hold your hand to see if we're compatible." Like,
Yeah, she senses his vibrations. She says they're
yes,
vibrationally compatible.
which is funny that Topanga starts out that way.
And I miss that version of Topanga. I think she didn't have to be like that like all the time, but like I wish that they incorporated more of that. They mention it, they do
Yes,
callbacks later on, but I mean, I guess it makes sense too. People grow up, and before she was like, just being raised by her parents, who also are supposed to be like, hippie type of whatever. Then you're in
right.
school surrounded by kids who are not like that, and I guess you change over time. But she was funnier and more interesting to me. Not to say she's not funny and a great
Yeah.
character later on, but
Yeah, well, I mean, later on she's like funny and a great character, and kind of like she's the main character's girlfriend, later wife, type of way, where this was, I don't know, more of a characteristic of her own personality. And I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm misremembering wrong, but maybe if they kept like some like she was a little bit more of an activist, even like in the college years or something like that,
yeah, that would have been good.
kept something.
Hmm.
But instead, it's like, oh, it was a phase, kind of like how Corey's like baseball. Uh,
Yeah, because I'm sorry, just because you said activist, their project, she's trying to make a case for like the issue with global warming, right?
right,
Yeah, protecting the
Jesus,
planet.
like that's how long we've been dealing with this shit.
Yeah.
um, but also her like idea for the project was alternative dance while Corey
Yeah.
recites a poem.
Yeah, he recites a poem that she wrote and she's doing interpretive dance to it. And then I didn't get that part, but I mean, it's interpretive. So I guess she takes the lipstick and then she like does a circle on her face and then a line through it. And
I think it was supposed to represent the sun, and
oh,
then
and the line through it is like,
yeah,
what? Like we're fucking up.
yeah.
But either way, it's fucking hilarious, especially because Corey's reactions too. Like, it's like he's afraid to keep reading. Like, because what is she gonna do next? Type of thing.
But the best part is when Sean comes in and goes like, "Oh, you know that, like, use a mirror or something like
he
that."
he looks at her and goes, "Use a mirror, babe."
It's fun. But yeah, then that's when the straightening happens, and then let's just talk about the outcast, because there's Topanga, who's the hippy dippy spiritual one. There's Minkus, who's the smart nerdy kid. There's a kid who wears a cape.
Who doesn't acknowledge that he's wearing a cape?
Right, and then there's a girl in overalls. I don't know what her issue was. I'm like, she seems fine. Maybe she just likes them and that makes her an outcast. I don't fucking know, but I was just like staring at that child for a long time, going like, "Are overalls a problem?" But yeah, the outcasts want to save the librarian because she's being forced into retirement, and they can't get any signatures because they're the outcast. And Corey, now the new outcast, who came from the normal world, gives them advice on how to save the librarian. This is a weird episode.
A lot
it's
happens too.
there's a lot going on, a lot being juggled here.
But they do it really well. 'Cause, like, it's
Yes.
not until you're laying it out right now that it seems like, "Whoa." You know?
But they decide to chain themselves up in the hallway to block students and force them to sign the petition to keep the librarian. And they are able to do it by Corey reminding them that the librarian is old, doesn't notice the stupid shit kids do. And if they hire a new person, it was going to be someone young who will have ideas.
Well, they were saying they were able to get away with things,
Yes.
you know, with the like, she didn't care. She cared about them, but not enough to, like, enforce the rules or dig too deep when she asked them a
Right.
question. She wasn't gonna, like, question them like that. And so they're like, "Look, we love having her as the librarian, and we don't know who we're gonna get if we get
Right.
someone else." Corey's like, "She's gonna have something to prove if we get someone new, so she's gonna be strict." But it works.
Yeah, it works. They go sign the petition. The other kids unchain themselves, but Topanga and Corey don't, for whatever reason, because they're having a
I'm
conversation.
I'm imagining Topanga has the key as well in that scenario because, you know, he does nothing unless he's just acting like he doesn't want what comes next.
Which maybe also it's I guess I wonder how that would go in like today's society. Two kids chained up and like the guy is saying no, but the girl still kisses him. I wonder how that would play. But it's also like Corey seems to be saying no more so. I don't know, maybe he was just not ready for that situation.
Yeah, it's more
Which is
like
also
a
fair.
it's yeah, it's more I don't know. It's more like he's just afraid. He's just
Yeah.
afraid as a little kid and he doesn't really try to stop her. That's the thing. Like he's saying that, but he's just like wiggling like the thing on his arm. He doesn't do anything to push her away or anything like that. He's just like, "Oh no, like I can't escape this."
Yeah. I don't know. It still to me reads a little weird. Maybe not problematic, but weird, but it's fine. They're soulmates, so it's fine.
I don't know. I didn't feel weird at all. It was funny.
Yeah, well, she kisses him to make the moment more special. Uh and then like at the end of the episode, she kind of makes mention like Corey's hat. Like Corey really likes his red Phillies cap or
Yeah.
whatever. Saying like, "Oh, this is like the only thing that kind of separates you from the other kids." Which is it? I don't know. Like you would think
No, she's
other
saying his
kids.
look.
Well, no, like before he even like changes his hair.
No, that's what I'm
Like,
saying. I'm
yeah,
saying, like, she's saying that he looks like everyone else except for his bright red hat. That's pretty much what she was saying. Like, she was saying it's good to be different. She was trying to say it's good to be different. Like, do you
yeah, yeah,
really
yeah.
want to look like everyone else? And then she just says, like, you look like everyone else except for this bright red hat that you wear, you know? And then he says that, you know, it's his favorite team and, you know, it's important to him. And then,
But aren't they in Philadelphia?
yeah, but
I'm
how
just
many
saying they're.
people are like, he seems to be the biggest baseball fan there. Like, not even Sean is like really cares about it. You know what I mean? It's just more like his
Mhm.
best friend cares about it. So he kind of
Right. Okay.
he's one of those diehards. You know, they established
Yes.
that right away.
Yes. uh. But yeah, at the end of the episode, Topanga's wearing a hat, and I don't know if it's supposed to insinuate that Corey gave her the hat or if she bought the
No,
hat.
I think he gave her the hat.
Yeah.
That's why like there's more going on there before the kiss. Like even when they're doing the project and he's looking at her like she's weird, he's also looking at her like, who is this person? You know what I mean? And like you can tell the crush is building there. And Topanga's just outright about the fact that she likes him. You know,
Mm.
um,
Yeah.
that's only 4 episodes in, and I don't know if they knew that that was gonna be for the length of the show, but the
Right.
chemistry is really strong between the two of them. Like they
Yeah.
really feel like two people who, would like each other. And they're just little kids. But I guess like the moral of this one is like don't be shallow.
Yeah, don't be shallow, don't be mm, like don't try to hide your true self. I think plays a part of it too.
Yeah, but that has to do with okay, I guess that's a better way to put it, but it's like because he was shallow and because everyone else is shallow, like he's afraid of like people's perception. So he wants to just fit in and just be like he's hiding who he is, right? To
Yeah.
to just match other people's expectations of him. But when he becomes an outcast, he also finds that he likes those people a lot more than he thought he would because he was being shallow. Like he was only ever like outward appearances, like matter the most. Now he knows who these people are and he's like, "Oh, they're not bad. They're cool in their own way." Sean tries to tell him the same thing, to be fair, early in the show, in the episode. You remember he says like who cares? He takes like jabs, but he's also like it doesn't matter, you know? Like I'm your friend like with your Brillo head. So it
Oh,
doesn't matter.
yeah, when he was talking about about how he's being self-conscious about his head. Yeah, yeah. Though it was Sean, and in this episode they give Sean a sister and that gets retcon out right
Yeah.
away. I
Totally forgot he had a sister at any point.
Yeah, and I actually went to look it up. Apparently they were gonna have like the third boy be the one to be like, oh, my sister did this and kind of give it to Corey or something. But I guess that kid got fired.
Cool world,
um,
tossing kids
so
out into the street.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's just maybe he couldn't keep the commitment with school. Who knows? It was a different world back then too. So they had to like switch to Sean doing that, being the character and having the sister. Because they had the joke where they call the sister, be like, is it supposed to be burning? How long have you had it in your hair? 20 minutes? Like, you should have washed it out 20 minutes ago. Like, what the fuck?
No, how long has it been burning? That's what it was.
Oh,
And
yeah,
then he says 45 minutes.
yeah,
And then she said, "Well, you should have took it out 45 minutes ago."
yeah. Oh, God. And then, yeah, like, fucking read the instructions. Like, what the fuck? Stupid kids.
Well,
Uh,
Sean was acting like he knew what he was doing.
yeah.
Oh, my sister does it all the time, you know?
uh, but yeah, you picked out this episode. It was a great pick. I'm glad we got it because this is a great introduction to Topanga because she plays a very pivotal role later on. I guess we're ready to move on to the next one, which was season 3, episode 13, New Friends and Old. They are now in high school.
Mhm.
We've got some new characters. The main one in this is Frankie, who is one of the bullies of the John Adams High, who torments Corey and Sean with his other friends, Eddie, and whoever the third one is that changes on later in the season. So I don't actually know which one is which right now.
Mhm.
But Eddie got suspended. I think the episode starts with
Wait, you're saying who the bully was? Like the main bully?
yeah,
Kiner
Kiner, but also like Kiner
becomes someone else at some point.
left the show and they brought in a new bully who was more like Kiner was like 80s kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah, he's like
bully.
Greece. He's
Yes.
from Greece. Yeah, but I think he's still the guy in this one.
Okay. later on they bring in another bully who's more like streetwise and kind of more like intellectually a bully. But yeah, Frankie uh gets in trouble because apparently he helped get Corey and Sean into cheerleading uniforms.
Well, it's not that he helped them, it's that he took their clothes and left that.
Oh,
So that
okay,
was their
okay.
only option to cover themselves up with.
And so they had to tell the story to Feeney. Feeney lets them leave to go get changed, but it happens when class is let out, which sucks for them. But yeah, this is very a more well. There's like two plots going on as always, a plot and a B plot. And the A plot is like Frankie gets in trouble for this. They bring in his parents, his father being a wrestler, I guess, during that time. I forget what the wrestler's name was. It wasn't like a main guy, or at least not to me. Like the way he acted, like clearly wrestler. But yeah, pretty much Mr. Feeney tells like Frankie, like, hey, you need to make better friends. You can't you gotta stop walking in this crowd of, uh bullies and stuff like that. You're a good kid, blah blah blah. I don't know, some bullshit like that. So Frankie goes to beat up Corey and Sean for snitching because also like his one friend Eddie, the other bully,
Got
um,
suspended.
got suspended for this act. And Corey and Sean, who didn't, I don't think they knew, like Feeney told Frankie to make new friends, offered to be Frankie's friend while Eddie is like suspended. And Frankie takes them on up on that offer, though trying to clarify, like, are you doing this out of the goodness of your heart or because you want to avoid me beating the shit out of you? And even though they straight up lied to him and said, like, no, no, we really want to be your friend, he took that as a good faith gesture. And the B plot that's going on in this is there's another character that got introduced in the high school is Mr. Turner, who is a teacher. He's the cool young teacher trying to get kids interested in English, I believe. And I guess at this point, Sean is living with Mr. Turner because Sean's father is.
Abandoned him, for lack
Yeah.
of a better word. um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what happened. Regardless of the intention, that's what happened. Um, but before we get too off track, I just wanted to say, because obviously, like, Turner was already, in the show for, Sean to be living with him, so it's not much about, like, him. But that was a great freaking character too. I
Yes.
really liked Mr. Turner, especially because not only he was as good a teacher as Feeney, but totally opposite. So it
Yes.
was like showing me, there's not one way to do anything. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's two totally different styles, and they get the same or different results, but equally important results.
Yeah.
In the development of their kids.
And not only that, like he also grows at like because he's a brand new teacher. He's like learning how to be a teacher while doing all this. He's learning
Right.
how to kind of be a parent when it comes to Sean.
Hmm.
Um
Which he was not ready for that either. But
no.
he tries his best though.
Yeah, which is amazing. And I just wonder in like a real world situation how that would work. Like,
Well, I think in the past that kind of stuff was actually more possible, right? Like
right.
people weren't as tracked. Now it's like everything about the kid that's in the school, and there'd be a conflict there. Like it wouldn't just fly like that.
Yeah, like teachers nowadays, like they can't even be like, oh, you can't if you have social media, you have to keep it private. You can't like add
Yeah,
students. That some or at least some schools are ridiculous in that way. I've like seen like being on TikTok, like teachers who are on TikTok pretty much being told like getting fired for
yeah.
having TikToks.
But the way it would happen now is that Mr. Turner would have had to report it to social services, who would then have taken Sean out of the custody of his parents, even though his parents weren't there, and then put him up for like foster or something like that,
Yeah,
and that would
and
have
like
been terrible.
the best case situation out of that would have been Corey's family being able to take him in as like a family friend kind of situation, maybe.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I don't want to get too off the episode, but we've
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
seen that, and it actually doesn't work well. Do you
yeah.
remember? It
I
it, it it's kind of a problem.
I mean, I feel like that happened multiple times. Where
Yep, but there was one episode where they tried to actually be like this is gonna be how it is for a while, you
right,
know, and it didn't work out.
yeah. But yeah, the B plot is Mr. Turner keeps getting messages from an old flame of his, and we kind of learned some more of Mr. Turner's background, where apparently he came from a very rich family. He decided not to join the family business, so he kind of, I guess, got thrown out of the family or ostracized from his family to go be a teacher and have his own life. And the girl who keeps calling was like his girlfriend at the time, who everyone assumed they were going to get married. She was also from a rich family. It seems the at the time when he chose to leave, she was against it, against him like leaving the family and trying to find his own way. It's such a small B plot. I'm just gonna finish it off. She comes. They have a date where they catch up, and you find out that she also kind of found her own way in life. She become like starts a business, her own business that isn't related to her family. She finds she lives in her own apartment that she's paying for, stuff like that. And Mr. Turner comes home, talking to Sean about it, going like, "Man, I kind of really expected her to be this way, but I guess you can't really judge a person from like past experiences or something along those lines," which makes Sean think. Now, before all that, Corey and Sean kind of learn the benefits of having Frankie the enforcer as their friend, as a bunch of middle schoolers, I guess? Like, was that their age? Like 7th graders?
Yeah, I think I don't know.
Yeah, a bunch of 7th graders are like terrified of Frankie and giving them their food at like the hangout spot
Yeah,
because
they use him. They use
yeah.
Frankie's presence to get things and
Yeah,
be
to get
treated
like
better and
meals, to change the name of one of the kids. I forget what they name it to. It's something like dancing. And it's funny because that comes back because um they get a message to meet up back at the school, and it's the 7th graders throwing a coup on them, pretty much be like, "Oh, what are you now without Frankie?" And they were gonna beat the shit out of Corey and Sean. It's a weird fucking episode. Uh,
well, they were being bullied by people they knew couldn't bully them themselves. They just had Frankie on their side, so they
right.
isolated them and were gonna jump them.
And it's funny because they're like, "Who's leading you into this?" And then out comes the kid, dancer or whatever the fuck they changed it. It's dancing.
Mhm.
I want to keep saying dances with squirrels, but that's combining like a different nickname for a different character. But yeah, then like Frankie comes in because he was actually gonna have a meeting with Corey and Sean because he realized they were taking advantage of him, and he no longer he wanted to be he wanted the friendship that Corey and Sean had.
Yeah.
He no longer wanted to be the enforcer. He wanted to be Frankie,
He wanted to be
which
seen for who he is.
right. And they kind of touch on it like he loves poetry, apparently loves exercise. He was able to keep up with Corey on a fucking
And
bike.
and it's Sean that, like you said, he was made to thank by Mr. Turner. He's the one that steps up in that moment to be like, "Look, Frankie isn't what you think he is to the other kids," and he's the first one to do the right thing there. Because like,
Yes.
Corey fucks up all the time, but he also is usually the one to then try to fix it as well. But it's like
Yeah.
in this, he he was like, no, Frankie, roll over these kids. Like it was Sean who was like, no, no, we can't use him like that anymore. And then Corey's like, damn it, you're right. And then then they start talking about all the positive things about him and how he's not who everyone thinks he is.
Yeah. He's loyal. He loves poetry. He's a great guy. You just gotta get to know him. And then Frankie smiles, and the kids are like, "He's baring his teeth. Run!" And it's just like Corey and Sean being like, "Hey, I'm sorry, man." It's like, okay, it's okay. Do you guys actually want to try to be friends now? Like, yeah. And I kind of wish they kind of keep that from what I remember going on later
Yeah,
on,
but
but
it's not like he could have been more a part of the show with them being his friend or something.
yeah, like maybe standing up for them when Eddie comes back. But no, like later on, like he goes back to his bully ways. Um,
Yeah. It's kind of like, okay, so the way the relationship plays out after that is like when Kiner or whatever the other bully is there, he still does what that person wants him to do, but he's
right.
regretful about it now because he likes Sean and Corey. And then Sean and Corey are kind of like, we get it. like we know you have to do this. We know you don't want to do this. And whenever he's separate, they have like little moments and like they help him with other problems later on in the show as
Yeah,
well.
like I think later on they like have Thanksgiving with him. Uh like I think like whenever he's involved and he's by himself, you're absolutely right. He's like, "Yeah, no, we're friends."
It's
I'm a
not
part of
personal. It's
this.
not personal when it's the other stuff.
Right. But it's like I just remember like later on he does come and he's like one of the most polite people when he's talking to his family, being like, "Oh, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Matthews, is Corey here? I need to speak to him about this." And it's just like, but yeah, no, the second he's back with his bully friends, yeah, he's the enforcer. He's a fun character.
Yeah, I liked him. He was funny. I wrote down some things that I thought were funny. One of them is a visual gag early on when Frankie's talking to Mr. Feeney and his father's there. And Frankie and his father are huge guys,
Yes.
right? Like they are big guys. So he's talking to them the whole time. And then when they're done talking, they move and you see the mother was there the whole time, but she's a tiny lady. So you just could not see her. So just the visual aspect was already funny as it was. But then to like top it off, Mr. Feeney goes, I'm so sorry. Like the fact that she has to like live in this situation, I guess.
Well, I guess it's also like, oh, she gave birth to Frankie. And then like maybe this is going too adult into the metaphor, but also like she would have
Yeah, she's
a
with
relationship with the husband who towers like even them just sharing a bed, just sleeping there. It's just like, wow, he must take up the whole bed.
when he says it too, the mother looks kind of like yeah,
Yeah.
it's tough.
Uh
Another one that I have written down is oh, I mean it's with the father again at the end, like how the episode will end and then they'll have like a little like bonus scene afterwards that
right.
isn't that important, but it's usually like something funny. The Frankie's father is getting ready to go to a match and he comes in and he's in character. He has to be in character, hyping himself up apparently, and he's just like acting crazy on everyone. And then he does it to Corey's mom, and she's just like, "Oh, stop it, Francis. You're not like this at the PTA meetings." But it was just funny because he's like intimidating everyone, does it to her, and she just kind of like brushes him off, and she's tiny
Yeah.
too.
Well, I mean they clearly have a different kind of relationship, a more friendly relationship. So yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like, why are you doing this? You're not on stage. You're in my house. Like, what the fuck?
Was there anything you remember or stood out, or you want to move on to the next episode?
I think we can move on. Like, I don't think there's anything else that stands out. It's just it was a good strong episode for one of our random picks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also like don't be shallow. Like don't judge a book by its cover.
Oh,
Like
absolutely,
get to
yeah.
know people. Don't just like let your first impression be the whole thing, I guess.
And also like a maybe more minor moral lesson.
People can
Don't
change as well.
don't use don't use your friends. Don't use people.
Yeah,
Cuz then you're going to start a coup and get your ass kicked. Like
yeah.
I mean some people need to be told that, I guess. I guess the next episode season 5 episode 17.
Yeah.
And then there was Sean. This was my pick. Not for any like significant reason. More so like this is just one of those episodes that stood in my head.
It's one of the most
Uh
fun ones
yes.
they've done, for sure.
Yeah. Because it's definitely like an homage to horror films, to slasher
But
fix.
also specifically, is it not specifically Scream at that point? Didn't Scream come out?
Yeah, I think it was probably that's the big defining one, Scream.
Yeah.
But also like all the like made up movies that they
Yeah.
like mention are definitely more like 80s horror kind of like, Friday the 13th sound kind of sounding movies, yeah.
I don't know. Some of them were definitely like like I know what you did last summer kind of sounding titles as well.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
that's fair.
but yeah, it's a really fun episode. Also, maybe it was in your mind. I mean, maybe when you think of Boy Meets World, it comes to mind already. I don't know, but also it was just Halloween, and like that's like the Halloween episode that I think
Yeah,
of when
maybe.
I think of Boy
Well,
Meets World.
actually, that's the funniest thing. I looked into this. This came out on February 27th. It was not in October.
Well, okay, when the original episode aired, sure, but they would air it every Halloween.
Yeah, yeah,
That's why I know it
absolutely.
as the Halloween episode.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But
yeah.
I was just like, this must have came out as close to October as they can. And then I'm looking, I'm like, February. I guess there's love in this.
Trying to keep it together anyways.
uh yes. This is like you said, a fun episode where Corey and Topanga apparently broke up. I don't know if this is from like the ski trip. I don't know where this
Mm-mm.
takes
I,
place. This was a different breaking up situation.
yeah, I don't think this was the ski trip. I think this was before that.
I don't remember the reason they broke up, and it's kind of not mentioned, but it's causing like a friction in their friend group. Like Corey can't sit behind Topanga, even though he's done that all his life. So he swaps seats with Sean, and then some random kid who we've never met before, Kenny, asks to borrow a pencil from Topanga, and Sean is just like, "How fucking dare you ask her anything? I know the tricks. I've borrowed many pencils in my day."
He says nobody's borrowed more pencils than Sean Hunter.
And people have to be like, "Dude, calm down." um, and it kind of continues to the point where Feeney tells like everyone to like swap seats. So like Topanga's on one end, Corey's on the other, and Sean's in the middle. And he's getting frustrated with how kind of Sean's like acting up. And he's like, one more interruption, and it's just detention. And then the creepy ass janitor walks by, looks into the room, and then just walks away. And Feeney is just like, you know what? Yeah, detention. I'm done. I'm done. Like, what the fuck was that? So, Corey, Sean, Topanga, Angela, who is were Sean and Angela dating? Like, I was a little confused at this point.
I don't remember if they were dating yet. Man, it's
Or were
hard.
they just
It's
like
hard to tell.
friends?
Like there was so many breakups between.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
It was also weird because I don't know. It kind of like plays out like whenever Corey is like broken up with Topanga, all of a sudden Sean is also broken up with Angela.
I don't know. I disagree with that because
Okay,
Sean and Angela were always on and off. So it
that's true.
for Corey and Topanga to break up and uh Sean and Angela to be broken up is not that hard considering Sean and Angela were broken up half the time, you know?
Right. Uh, but yeah, she's part of this episode. I think she was. She's a great screamer. Like, maybe that's a weird thing to say, but there's a bit of me that wants to see if she's done any horror films because she fucking nailed the scream
Yeah.
and did it repeatedly too.
Yeah.
Like, that must have fucked up her voice. But also the other kid that got detention was Kenny. Let's
There's a
also
there's multiple South Park references in this show,
yes,
and they introduce him for him to die.
literally he dies and Eric yells, "Oh my god!" Or maybe it wasn't Eric because how would he know his name?
No, it was Eric. It
How the
was
fuck did he
Eric.
know his name?
Because it doesn't matter. Because
Okay.
yeah.
Well, he was like, "Oh my god, they killed Kenny."
And I think he goes to say "you bastards," but gets cut off. Like,
Oh,
so
okay,
I
yeah.
never noticed that before.
But also, like, when for whatever reason, Eric, Corey's brother, and Jack, Sean's long lost brother, half brother, I guess, comes into the school for whatever reason, and Eric is like, "Howdy ho,"
Yeah.
which another. I'm just like the like they kill Kenny. Like I'm like, okay, that's funny, and then like just having two South Park references, I'm like, what was going on in South Park at the time?
It was just huge. Like
Yeah, I
it just
guess.
that's just when it was starting up, I think. But yeah, that was a Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh reference, the
Yes.
howdy ho thing. And yeah, Kenny. I wonder if there was more. I wasn't really looking out for it, but those two things were just so obvious.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe they were like, oh, well, we're getting out so many references to like horror, Scream and all that. Maybe we should just also go with South Park because where else are we gonna be able to do these references?
Mhm.
You know?
So, but in this episode, I mean, we already said it, right? Like they brought Kenny in to die. So people actually do start dying. Do you want Well, okay, no, before you say how he dies, that whole joke, one of the funniest parts to me was when they're trying to figure it out, like in a Scream movie, where they're like, "Oh, well, these are the
Right.
tropes and blah blah blah," and they keep saying Kenny's gonna die first, and he's like, "Why do you keep saying that?" And then Corey goes, "Well, it's certainly not gonna be one of us. Like, what are you doing?" Like, but he's saying that
Right.
because they're the key players, they're the main, characters.
Yeah, and Kenny gets killed by having a pencil shoved through his head, which I guess maybe foreshadows the killer.
Oh, yeah, I didn't put that together.
Uh,
I'm sorry, that makes it so much funnier now.
but yeah, and it's a great scene because you just see him with the pencil through his head. He falls down, and you see the pencil line on the wall as he's
Because it
falling
stabs
down.
straight through, yeah.
And then I think it's Corey that goes up and goes like, "Well, always remember, he was this tall." It's just like Jesus Christ, Corey. That's savage. But yeah, he's the first to die. So they think it's the janitor. They're locked into the room because Feeney locks them in. So they think it's either the janitor or Mr. Feeney playing a really fucked up like lesson for them. Like, don't disturb my class or I'll kill you. I think that's literally a line. And it's great because like Sean is talking about like, oh, the killer is always going to be walking in the back of the scenes when we're not looking, and they all look to the behind them, and the killer runs in front of the camera.
Even the reference when they're talking about the like the virgin trope, right? Like the
Oh
virgins will
yes,
live or whatever. So then Sean's brother and Eric are both like, "Well, we're out." But then Sean goes like, "Well, I will get hurt as much as humanly possible without actually dying."
which that seems Like, I guess they were trying to just make, I don't know, because Sean was still in high school. I guess they didn't want to say he fucked. But I feel like Sean would have been the character that absolutely fucked.
I don't know, maybe not because like we've seen like yeah, it's possible, but we've seen his relationships on the show, and he's in a school where like he's supposed to be in a different school district or something. Like he's like the one poor kid. Everyone else there is like affluent, it seems,
Well, I guess
and they outcast
technically,
him because of that.
I mean, also the other poor kids is like Frankie and the other bullies,
Oh yeah, yeah,
technically.
yeah,
Like, Frankie is from the same trailer park as Sean.
yeah, yeah.
But still, I remember the show, like, Sean was not a playboy, but he was dating. He was
Yeah, but he
dating
was
multiple
happy with, dating, kissing, and then other things that are not quite, going to
intimate, I
existence.
guess.
Yeah.
I would say kissing is pretty intimate, but whatever. Everyone has their own lines.
Oh, this is just something I just want to say before I forget. It's not the introduction of this version of the character, but it was the first one we saw that has this version of the character. Dumb Eric.
Oh, yes.
He's very funny, but I thought he was funny in the early episodes, and he wasn't fucking dumb. You know what I mean? He was just a normal guy, you know?
Right.
But in this one he's pretty dumb. And it gets worse
Yeah.
as the show goes on, which we also see, in these in the last episode. I liked Eric when he was more of a character than just like
Yeah.
this one dimensional clown.
It definitely goes further. Maybe it didn't hit that hard in this because this is also kind of a ridiculous episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it kind of fit that
I'm sorry. I just
theme.
thought about how he made out with Jennifer Love Hewitt, who is Jennifer Love Pfefferman in the show.
Yes.
Um,
Straight away.
how did they get her in the show? Like, was Boy
They
Meets
were
World
dating.
that big? What? Yeah, but how did they get that actress in the show?
Eric the
Oh, the
they were
actor,
literally dating.
the actor and the actress.
Yeah, they were
Not
literally dating at
okay.
the time.
Okay. So not Eric. Okay, no, that's okay. That makes a lot of sense then, because I was like, how? Like this was just some random kid show, and then she was a known person at the time.
So that probably helped. And then I don't know, Boy Meets World at what is this, season 5? It's
Yeah,
just like it works. Like it was at one of its prime moments.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Right before the fall, I would say. I enjoyed the next two seasons, but they're not as strong. They're just not.
Yeah. So Kenny dies, then Mr. Feeney dies with scissors stuck to the back of him.
Which was funny to me because the scissors are like barely in. It's not like the pencil that like went through Kenny's head. These are just
Right.
like barely in him. How did he die?
Hey, it hit directly on the spine. Uh, he's an old man.
It looks like the shitty scissors too that they give you. Like, well, not anymore. Now they have even shittier ones that they give kids. But like the shitty metal ones that
Yeah.
are like blunted on the ends a little
Yeah.
bit.
Because Feeney died, they all blame the janitor, which means the janitor has to die. And then they start accusing each other, which, fun moment, where Corey's just going down the line, giving his little speech about how one of them is the murderer.
No, what does Topanga say? Where then he suspects her?
Oh,
I
God.
don't know. I just remember she said like I don't know. Her Corey and Sean like drive her crazy or something, and he's like crazy enough to murder or to kill. He says to
Yeah.
kill.
And then, straight up, later on, Sean kind of blames Topanga for all of this.
Yeah.
Going well, this didn't happen when you two worked together. Which, we'll get into why later, but at the moment, it's like, that's problematic thinking. But, yeah. Then they meet Jennifer. Eric right away, trusts her and, just starts making out with her straight away. And Jennifer is, pretty okay with it.
Yeah, she just says, "Ooh, you're friendly." After he's like sucking
Which,
her face.
yeah, I'm just saying, if you did that in real life, At best, you're getting a slap.
Yeah, but even in the show, it's not real life, right? Like
Yeah.
everyone's dying. You know, this isn't like
It's
you
a
know
dream
something's up.
episode.
Yeah, it ends
Yeah.
up being a dream episode.
Yeah, and again, I guess that's why, like, you can pass on some of the only other thing I will mention here is just Jennifer is definitely playing a high school student, right? She said she was in study hall and she's like stayed late for whatever reason. And Eric at this time was in college.
Jeez.
That didn't even cross your mind, did it?
No, because I like maybe if I had watched episodes leading up to it, but we just watched, you know.
Well, I knew he was in college because he was with Jack. They literally maybe he wasn't in college, but he was like I think he skipped a year or something because he was trying to figure himself out. But I'm pretty sure when him and Jack are friends and are living together, they were both going to college at the time or just about to start college. Is it weird that I'm the one that finds the problematic shit?
I mean, but again, I think you might be over exaggerating, right? If she's a senior, he was just a senior. They're like they could be the same age.
If she was a senior, yes.
Yeah,
Technically, we don't know that.
we don't, but she does look older than like Corey, Sean, and Topanga. She does look more like his age. I don't know.
But yeah, let's see. I listed how they die. So they go to the library. Eric didn't know the school had a library. They split up, and Corey and Jennifer are like in a group. I don't know. I kind of got the vibe that Jennifer was like flirting with him a little bit.
I maybe, and that's why the books get pushed on her, right?
She
Like,
was netted.
yeah, she's
Yeah, she
murdered,
was the fourth to die. The books are pushed off the top shelf, lands on her, not Corey
and
somehow.
and somehow just a row of books is enough to kill a person.
Yes. And it's amazing. And Eric is like, oh no, Jennifer, no, no, and runs.
And
And
then books
Jennifer's
get pushed.
like, well, Jennifer's like, I think I know who it is. And then
Mhm.
Books get toppled on top of Eric, and they both die together. Uh, Romantic love. Jack panics because he feels like he can't pay for the apartment anymore. So he runs to the window to go throw himself out the window and die. Because how can he live without the rent money when really it's like, how can he live without his lover, Eric? Like, come on. But then Angela stops him and reminds him that Sean also lives with him and they will somehow find rent. But then the killer pushes them both out the window because they were standing on the ledge. That just leaves Sean, Corey, and Topanga. And Sean reveals who the killer is. And it was Sean. And we find out it's a dream. And the dream was pretty much a metaphor of how Sean feels like nothing matters except for Corey and Topanga's love. Like they should be together.
Yeah, but again, I think it goes to like the show's general issues of growing up where like again, the anxiety of change, right?
Yes.
Things are a certain way, things are good in Sean's mind. Why are you changing this? Why are you making my friends like cuz Corey's different when he's in that place. Cuz he's never without Topanga long enough for us to see what he would be like, again, but he's always in that depressive state. So he's not the guy that Sean knows and loves. And then it's like, why is this happening? He just doesn't want to accept that that could happen.
Also, I guess he blames himself for their separation as well. Because that kind of gets brought up uh, when he's like wakes up from the dream and goes to the front of the class and like gives a speech.
Yeah, I don't remember the context of like what
Yeah.
happened in the episodes leading up to it to know why that's the case. But
Well, like I remember like Topanga and Corey being like, "Hey, this, like our separation."
no, but I mean that doesn't give us context. That doesn't give us the
Yeah,
reason why he feels
yeah,
that
yeah,
way.
yeah. Well, I mean, he could just feel that way just be by being part of their friend group. Like maybe he didn't do enough when they were like breaking up.
Mm,
Because again, who the fuck knows which breakup this is?
yeah. And also Sean and Corey love to meddle, especially Corey, which
Yes.
yeah.
But yeah, it was generally a good episode. It was fun. I'm glad I still picked it. I don't know. Do you just want me to say some of the names for some of the movies
Sure.
that they made up? Blood in the Shower, Last of the Obvious Suspects, The Killer is One of Us, Killer Killer, You're the Killer, and A Troubled Young Man. Which maybe that's also foreshadowing who the killer was. So the next episode we watched was season 7, episode 2, For Love in Apartments. Which again, there's an A plot and a B plot. Going off of the title and like the description on Disney Plus, I didn't realize this was gonna have like a serious story to it. I thought this was just gonna be silly fun.
Mm.
But Corey and Topanga are kind of broken up, it seems. Or they're like in the phase of breaking up because Topanga's parents broke up. So Topanga has her like faith and love was uh shaken.
Mhm. 'Cause they were always, like, the model to her. Like,
Yeah,
this is the model relationship. But they hid stuff from her since she was a child. Cause like, that's why they moved to Pittsburgh to begin with, was because they were having issues.
right. But Topanga doesn't want Corey to do anything. Corey says okay, and then takes Sean to Pittsburgh to get Topanga's parents back together. Even though he has no concept of why they broke up,
Yeah.
he's just like, well, they were in love. Love is internal.
Well, this shows, like, Corey's, how naive he is sometimes and innocent, right? Like, he's had a very nice upbringing. Like, his problems are not, like, the same problems other people have, you
Right.
know?
Actually, a lot of his problems are actually other people's problems.
Yeah. He's always trying to make things better, and he doesn't really know how. He just kinda just jumps into it.
Right.
Um, and he's always trying to control things that he can't control. Like,
Yeah.
again, it goes into the I keep bringing it up, but, like, change, like, it's just a common thing throughout the, show, which makes sense because it's kids growing up and turning into adults.
Yeah. It's also like I noted like season like that first episode is all about love. So this is and I'm sure it's been tested multiple times in the show, but in this episode the idea of what love is being tested challenged by how the world actually fucking works. But yeah, Corey drags Sean. It seems Sean and Angela are broken up at this moment, and Corey somehow convinces Sean like getting Topanga's parents back together would help get all f- all four of them back together, which is a fucking ridiculous concept, but whatever.
No, it's ridiculous, but I get it because he's like, if I can get them back together, then I can prove. Because in his mind right now, again, he's very naive. He believes love can conquer all. So right now, it's not that him and Topanga don't love each other. It's not that Sean and Angela don't love each other. It's that love isn't enough all the time. But he's trying to prove that it is. So he's
Right.
like, if I get them together and me and Topanga get back together, then you and Angela will get back together because love is enough. That's pretty much the argument, you know?
And the B plot is Jack and Eric lost the apartment to the girls, to Angela, Topanga, and Rachel, who is the female love interest that was introduced for Eric and Jack, who is a awesome character. I don't want to like downplay her character by saying that, but that's kind of how she is introduced.
Yeah.
So Eric and Jack want their apartment back because that was always their sanctum, and the girls tell them to fuck off. And if they really want the
This
apartment,
is this is where the humor of the episode comes in too, because everything else was very
yes,
serious.
yeah, I don't know. It was very ridiculous where they're like, okay, we'll wrestle you for the apartment. Because Topanga's like, my whole life is shattered. I'm ready to beat the shit out of you two boys.
The fight wasn't the funniest part though. The can crush was.
Yes.
So Topanga's
So
trying to show Eric, like, you know, that he's not as tough as she is, that he's underestimating her. She grabs a can and she crushes it on her head. And then he's like, "Oh, okay." He takes the challenge and he grabs the can, starts making all kinds of sounds, and then smashes his head and just basically knocks himself unconscious. It wasn't an empty can though.
yeah, Jack is like, it's supposed to be empty, Eric.
But why didn't he tell him that before he did it?
Maybe he thought it was empty. I don't know. Uh, but yeah, the guys go like, well, we need a referee, and that's when another wrestler who goes by the name of Mankind
Yeah.
breaks in.
Yeah, he's actually a wrestler. Like at the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I think
The other
Frankie's
guy was
father was
too?
also. Yeah, I looked it
Okay.
up. He was. I think he wasn't like WWW. I think he was like AEW or some shit like that. I don't know Mankind either. I'm not fucking Mark or whatever the fuck people call themselves. But yeah, he comes in. He beats the shit out of Eric to show what's not allowed. Um, which is pretty much everything to the women. Like the women were allowed to do anything, and the guys were not allowed to hit below the waist or above the waist. I think was how it was defined. And it's like, wait, what? Because it's not nice to punch a woman who challenged you into a wrestling match, but whatever.
I think it was just about not touching their private like
Yeah,
areas,
I
like their
guess.
breasts and yeah.
But everything that Mankind was doing to Eric was like punches to like the chest and the headbutt and stuff like that. But yeah, let's just finish the B plot because it doesn't matter. It's not a big thing here. The boys lose. They have to take up the girls' old like dorm room, which has a big old poster of the Backstreet Boys, and they get in an argument of which one's the hot one. Which whatever. So the main plot, Corey and Sean go to Pittsburgh. They go to Topanga's father's like apartment, which is like a studio apartment. It's kind of sad looking. Corey's like pushing how sad this is and how like telling him like, hey, you need to get back to your wife. Like this has really shaken up Topanga, which has affected my relationship. And I know you two just love each other, so just fix it. So the father's like, look, some things can't be fixed. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but also I'm the adult and I know what's going on here. I don't think you understand what's going on here. And I guess he technically says like, I guess it's not me who doesn't want to see his wife. So Corey and Sean go to the wife's. Well, I guess before that, there's like a weird story bit that they decided to clarify where Sean is like, Topanga's father hates him, never liked him, and he straight up asks the father, like, why do you hate me? Which is something Sean has done multiple times. So I get like random clips on TikTok now and on YouTube that I'll just randomly click on where he straight up asks like, Feeney, why do you hate me? And I'm sure he's done it with others as well. But this is a theme for Sean. He's direct, but also wants to know why people hate him.
Well, he's direct, but he doesn't actually know what he's asking. Because in this case, like, yeah, he treated him differently, but Sean always I feel like he is projecting. Like he hates himself at times, and he thinks that means that other people hate him. It's no, they're trying to. You're difficult. That doesn't mean they hate
Yes.
you. They're trying to deal with whatever the situation is, and they're
Which is
trying to help you.
also a main theme in the show. um but yeah, the father just explains like, I always thought you were going to be the one who is the boy with Topanga in the basement. And instead, he should have been keeping an eye on Corey, and they both laugh about that. Because Corey is such a nice kid. Anyway, they go and they fucking invite themselves into the wife's house, um, and convinces her to meet with the father, saying like, "Oh, he really wants to meet you, talk to you." And she goes like, "Are you saying that because you want this to happen, or are you saying this because it's true?" And Corey lies like a jackass
Mhm.
and goes like, "I wouldn't do that to you." So the father comes in and goes like, "Wait, I was told you wanted to see me." And she goes like, "No, I was told you wanted to see me." And Corey's like, "I'm sorry, but you two just need to get into a room together." And they have this talk, and they're clearly talking around this subject. And Sean seems to be the only one to pick up on that. Like Corey's like, "I'm doing it." No, no, they're talking. This is good. This is good. And Sean's like, well, "Why did they break up?" Like they're talking around like what happened, and Sean's like, "So what happened?" But like there's like a moment where you think they're gonna get back together, but the wife is like, "And I hope you have as much happiness with," what was the other woman's name?
Maria or something like that.
Yeah, let's just go with Maria. I hope you're happy with, you find new love with Maria. And Corey goes like, "Who's Maria?" And the way they phrase it is funny to me because I think in any other instance she would have been like, "Maria's the one he cheated on with me," but instead it's like, "It's the woman he loves now."
Mhm.
Such an odd phrasing. And that's where Corey's like, "Oh, I can't fix this because."
No, but I I get what you're saying, but I don't think
Mhm.
it's about keeping the word cheating out because they used the word cheating in the show before. Um, I think it's because again, the whole thing is about him trying to keep love alive. And it's like, yeah, but what happens when someone loves someone else?
Right.
That's it. You know, you're saying love can't die. It's like, well, the love is somewhere else now. It's not, he doesn't love his wife the way he used to. He loves this other person.
Right.
And that's what like rocks Corey to his core.
I mean, I guess, and I it makes sense because Corey had like a really that ski lodge relationship where like in another show that could have gone a different way. Who knows? But Corey's like, "How can you fall out of love with her? Like she should have been your everything, your whatever." And the father, I don't even remember what he says. He's just like, "It happened," and then tells Corey like, "Don't tell Topanga."
No, the mother, yeah, the mother
Oh, the
actually is
mother
the one.
said it?
Yeah, she said,
Oh,
I
okay.
don't want her to hate her father.
Oh, that's right, yes. Which, I don't know. That's one way to go about parenting. I don't agree with it. It's more so up to Topanga to decide on what her relationship with her father is at that point. But whatever.
Maybe she just feels it's too soon or something. I don't know. Because I mean, look at the
Maybe.
way Topanga's taking it without even knowing what happened.
Right. But it just feels like it's gonna be swept under the rug where, um, oh, her father's gonna be dating this new person, so they know it's over, and let's just say the father and the new person, like, marry or whatever. Like, I don't know. I feel like that, is gonna cause more issues because, I don't know. I don't know their family. I'm just saying if that happened in my family, someone would have figured it out. It was gonna be a rumor, and that's more devastating to hear it, like, as family gossip.
Yeah, well, they don't have a extended family that they ever introduced, so I don't think it's like that. But when you say I don't know their family, it made me think about the fact that she had different parents every time we saw them, the actors and actresses.
Yeah,
Like this is the maybe the third pair. I think I like the third pair better than the middle pair though, because the middle pair didn't seem anything like the first pair. Like the first pair had hippie vibe, like they play. The
right.
father was a musician. Then the second one, I don't know, they could have been like a lawyer and a doctor for all I knew. And then in this one, I don't know what they do, but they do seem more, chill, and like the mother definitely seems, like more like what you would expect Topanga's mother to be like.
Yeah. That's an interesting episode, and Corey and Sean go back. They see Topanga. Topanga's like, "Where were you guys for the weekend?" And Sean was like, "Oh, we were just hanging out. We were just, the same old, same old." And Corey's like, "We went to Pittsburgh." Right, we went to Pittsburgh, but just for a trip. And then Corey's like, "I went to see your parents." It's like, okay. Sean really wanted to hide everything. And Topanga, I think, fairly got mad at Corey. Corey should not have butt into this relationship. Like on so many levels. Like it's not like one of his friends' relationship. It's his girlfriend's parents. Not only that, it's like again they retcon this whatever, but they're like, oh, they've been a couple since kids. So he clearly had a formality with the parents. And I don't know. I would find if his relationship was a friendly one, like a friendship level one. I don't feel like that's the kind of relationship he would have with the parents. So he definitely stepped out of bounds, and Sean's the one that defends him, that goes like, you know what? He actually really tried. And for like a moment, it could have gone somewhere, but he really tried. He did good. He tried to do good for you.
That's the thing, though. I think Sean also agrees that it was out of bounds, but he's like, but he's losing his mind because he wants to fix your guys' relationship so bad. Like, even though their relationship has nothing to do with your relationship, you're letting it affect your relationship. So he tried to go fix that other relationship for you. You know? Like, that's the
Right.
reason why he felt the need to go do that, is because he doesn't want to lose Topanga.
Anyway, the episode kind of ends like it would be continued on to the next episode, and I don't know if it does or if this is just one of those weird, like, well, I guess nothing got figured out. But in the end of the day, Corey does not tell Topanga what happened, why they separated, because Topanga was just like, "Did you learn anything? Like, I just can't figure it out. How these my parents are no longer together." And he's just like, I don't know. I just don't know.
I'm pretty sure she does find out.
I think so too. And
Yeah.
then because I remember like it kind of gets brought up, he knew and didn't say anything. Which that I'll at least give that to Corey. That's a tough one to be in. Like, yeah, is that's just a shitty situation to be in. And I don't like condemn his decision in that regard, at least.
Yeah, I mean, he already pried into, the information. Like it wasn't he shouldn't have known to begin with, and it wasn't his information to give to anyone, even if it was Topanga, and also specifically the mother that asked.
Yeah.
I feel like if it was the father, I'd be like, "Fuck this guy, I don't care," But like the mother asked, and it's like, damn, like
Yeah.
I guess I'll respect her wishes. I don't know. I don't know what I
Yeah.
would do. It's just I get why he didn't.
Also, I guess this was like a different time where, well, maybe not, but like divorce was more of a shunned kind of thing. I feel like there's a bit more acceptance for divorce in like nowadays.
I don't know. I don't know how different it was in 2000. Like I don't
Right.
remember. I don't know. It's and even if it's more accepted, it's still kind of like people still kind of act weird sometimes about it. Oh well.
Yeah.
On to the next one and the final.
The final one, season 7, episode 23. I don't think we need to touch on too much from episode 22, even though it's a two-parter.
No,
But
it's
pretty
all
much,
it's really one episode that they
yeah.
split into two, and the way that they split it into two was by padding it out with montages from the past. So
Yeah.
I hear your sigh. The only thing I want to say, because at first I was like, did they need to do this? The thing is, they wouldn't do it today. Because today
No.
we can binge watch things, and you would already have all the context. Back then, it had been a decade since you've seen some of that stuff. You know what I mean? Or 7 years or whatever it was. So they used to do that a lot, you know?
Right.
And I remember when I saw it the first time, it was hitting hard. So I can't say they made the wrong decision, you know? Um, but yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Right. Like, honestly, watching the clips, I'm just for me, like, oh, from either TikTok or YouTube, I've seen this. Some of the clips were from episodes we've watched during
Mhm,
this thing,
mhm.
and it's just like, okay, I think I defocused, especially during episode 1. I wasn't focusing that hard. I guess the plot for this is Topanga was offered like an internship or some or maybe some kind of college thing in New York
At a law firm.
at a law firm. Yeah, and Corey doesn't want to move to New York because change, like you said, throughout this whole episode. But at some point, like Topanga's like, you know what? All our friends are here. We should just stay here.
She doesn't wanna go because of change as well.
Right.
She's afraid.
And we find out later on because like one of their breakups was because Topanga got offered college. I don't know if it was a scholarship or whatever, but she got accepted to like Harvard or Yale, one of those colleges,
I think it was Yale.
and she was deciding on going there. And Corey's like, "Well, what does that mean about us?" And then a day she decides to stay with Corey with the stipulation that they're getting married. Like, I think she literally proposes to him
Yeah.
with, "I'm gonna stay here, will you marry me?" Yeah, so pretty much in the first part, it's just like Corey going, like, being down on it. I don't know. Again, I defocus. Do you think you can do a better recap?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even down on it because he doesn't expect her to go. You know what I mean? Like, there's that fear, but he doesn't expect her to go. He's just like, "That's a scary option," you know? But he knows her, and he doesn't know the reason, as we find out in the second episode. We should just treat it as one episode. Like, it's not
Yeah,
worth
yeah, yeah,
splitting
yeah.
into
No,
2.
no.
He talks to Mr. Feeney, who that's why you brought up the college story. I think that's where you were
Yeah,
going
yeah,
with it.
yeah.
Yeah, so Mr. Feeney talks about how he talked to her about the Yale decision, and Corey goes like, "Oh yeah, that's because, she wanted to stay, and, for whatever
Because of me.
yeah, because of me." And then Mr. Feeney says that's what she said, and then he explains that Topanga's been the best at everything. And Corey's like, "Yeah?" Um, and he's like, "But that's here in our little pocket of the world, right? Like, what happens if she goes to the big city where so many people are competing for the same things and so many people go to make their careers and stuff like that? Is she gonna be able to succeed there?" And Corey goes, "Of course she will," because like, first off, he's her number one cheerleader, but also she is objectively like the smartest person in his life, right? So he
Right,
can't imagine her failing at something that just requires her to do what she does. um, but then Mr. Feeney says, "But does she know that?" Right? She has that
right,
fear. She has that seed of doubt. I can do this here, but can I go do it, over there? Um, that puts Corey in the mindset that he doesn't wanna be the reason. I mean, and Mr. Feeney kinda, like, pushes him in that direction, um, that she holds herself back,
right,
that he doesn't want her to have any regrets, and he doesn't want her to push herself and do what, she actually wants to do. So, he pretty much, tells her, "We gotta go. We gotta go." And I love that that's a part of this final episode because that's Corey finally becoming an adult to me and, like, accepting change and pushing for change, jumping headfirst into change because it's the right thing to do and the
right,
best thing to do, you know? I mean, yeah, that's pretty much that's pretty much the episode. It's like, he decides we're doing this and she's excited because, she doesn't have that lifeline. Like, she's scared, but, like, she doesn't have that lifeline of him being the one holding her in
Right.
place. Now it's like, no, we got to go do this. But she's willing to take on that challenge with him. He's her husband at this point in the show, so um, they're ready to go. And then it's pretty much just wrapping up. Like I said, there's a lot of montages. Every time you see two characters interact, it'll go into like a 5-minute montage of all the good moments, funny moments, sad moments, whatever
Uh,
of those two characters.
and it's not even like the main characters. Like there are moments with like Eric and his mother. Like they took like 3 clips
Yeah,
from
yeah,
like the same episode.
yeah.
Um,
And so here's the issue with that. And like they were funny scenes,
yeah, yeah,
but the reason why that doesn't hit like the other ones is because of what they did to Eric. If Eric was more of a character, a lot of these things would be a lot more interesting. They would have had more to pull from. They just didn't want him to be the only person who didn't get, you know what I mean? Like these moments, like because then all he would have gotten was the Mr. Feeney one, like
right, yeah, yeah,
that, which was funny. And he makes a Mr. Feeney call doll.
yeah. Uh, and then they also do like I think Corey, Topanga, Sean, and Eric are all moving to New York.
Yeah,
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 which I think for Eric's character, I kind of wish they could have gave him his own thing to branch off on because it should have been Corey, Topanga, Sean, the core three. They go to New York. Jack and Rachel are joining the Peace Corps, where Jack is giving up his family's money, kind of pulling a Mr. Turner to go do the Peace Corps with Rachel. And there's like a moment with Sean and Jack, and they bring back their father to play like a ghost in between them,
yeah,
which is a great moment.
yeah. It is.
And then there's a moment where Corey is speaking to his little brother, who, uh, which, if I remember correctly from like clips I've
He should
seen,
have been a baby.
yes, yes, but also that was like the producer's son,
That's not a good reason though.
and the kid was supposed to not say anything, like him saying Topanga and stuff like that. That was that was not in the script.
Well, the Topanga was good, but it was
Yeah.
everything else that was awkward. Like he was like smiling and like that's not a child actor in the making.
No, no, no. Literally, it just felt like they like, oh right, right, right. He has a little brother now.
Mhm. You.
You stand here.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to father son, work day. Corey gives his little speech saying you're gonna meet the world. Oh, now I get it. And I'm really glad it does not end there. They have the final scene in the original classroom, the classroom we all know, and it's Mr. Feeney who's there for some reason, and Eric, Topanga, Sean, and Corey come in, and they sit in their spots, except for Eric, who sits in the back because he didn't attend that class. And they have a final, like, speech from Mr. Feeney, where he tells them to believe in yourself, dream, try, do good. And if there's anything if I ever want to get a tattoo, I think I know what I would fucking put on my body. Like, legitimately, like, that's the part that did not remember that. I'm like, it's such a good,
It's literally a perfect ending.
yeah, it's such a good saying, and it's like even like Topanga's like, don't you mean do well? And he's like, no. And yes, it means like to do good in the world and all that stuff. But also, I think there's something very interesting about it being like it's not a grammatically correct kind of way to say it. Like, it should be like believe in yourself, dream, try, and do good. Like he drops the and, it's just like do good. Like, and I think it's very a very interesting way to say it from a character who is very intellectual, who is very
Well,
much like
I don't know. But he's more like listing. He's not. It's not a sentence, so you don't need an and. But
mm, mm,
the reason why she corrects him is because she didn't take it the way he meant it
yeah, yeah,
originally,
yeah.
right? So like she thought do well meaning like pretty much do the best you can in all these things, but he means like no, literally put out good into the world. Like
Yes.
that's the most important thing, you know?
You know what? We need more of that, honestly.
Yeah.
Uh, and then they beg him to say he loves them, and he holds out pretty much. I don't think he directly says it to them. He says it after they leave.
Yeah, yeah. He keeps saying that that crosses a professional line that he won't, do. And once they all have their individual goodbyes and they all say something really sweet to him that also makes you want, if you're not already crying, it makes you want to cry even
Yeah,
more. And they give him a hug, and then once they've all left the class, that's when he just says, "I love you all."
yeah.
Class dismissed. Um, there is one final funny moment though, where they're all again. He's gonna shake their hands, and then they hug him.
Right.
Then Eric comes up, they have their moment, and he goes to hug Eric, and then Eric shakes his hands instead, but then he goes back to give him a hug.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was, like, improvised.
Maybe.
It was so
Yeah.
funny because it was
Maybe.
such a serious, emotional, scene, and then that was so funny.
Uh. Yeah. I guess the only other thing to point out is like Mr. Feeney, the whole calls Corey like Mr. Matthews. Uh, Even though in the first episode, I forgot to mention it, he does call Corey at one point to just lay down the metaphor he was trying to put out there. I don't fucking know. But we also learned that apparently Corey's name might be Cornelius.
Corey is short for Cornelius.
Uh, but the way Corey, yeah, yeah, like that's probably on his birth certificate.
Yeah.
Yeah, which that's funny.
But it's funny because he acts very like no, shh. Even Topanga doesn't know that, even though they're married.
I got away with it for so long. But yeah, that's Boy Meets World. It's other than it being like a clip show at the end, which is like my big downer of it. It's that final scene really really does a beautiful job of putting a bookend on that series.
Yeah. The only thing they could have done, I feel like, with the clip show thing, like that issue that you have, is they were gonna do a clip show because that's how these shows did this. I feel like back then, but like
Yeah.
they could have done it before the finale. They could have done it
Right.
in the penultimate episode, and then the finale just be a really strong. Instead of a two-parter, it could have been a one-parter with just the main, stuff.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's still, even like you said, like you weren't like super into it. The scene in the classroom,
Yeah, no.
you can't like not be in it.
Literally that could have been the last episode, just that scene. Good 5 minutes in, it'd be like, bravo. Bravo. Don't know what led up to this, but bravo. But yeah, this was fun. This was fun to be able to talk about the series. And we talked about it. Like it got kind of silly towards the end. I feel like that kind of comes from being a longer run show that went from, Corey being in middle school leading up to college or being in
I
college.
think part of it, I mean, this isn't good, but I think they just ran out of ideas too, because they started
Yeah.
repeating kind of similar plots after a point, and it's like, oh, okay, well, how do we make it different? We just got to make it funnier. We just got to have them acting crazy. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that was their solution. So maybe it ran a little too long, like you said, but I still, it sucks because like I wished certain things went certain ways in terms of like character development for Eric, or not being
Right.
so silly, but I still like watching, those last
Yeah.
two seasons. There's still so many funny moments.
And it's kind of just I don't know what the actor's thoughts are. I never listened to the podcast or heard a clip where he talks about it. But it seems like he had fun playing the goofball,
Oh no,
the
he didn't like it.
ridiculous one. He didn't?
No,
Bro,
he was
how?
upset that his character stopped being a character.
Mm,
Yeah. He's just a professional, sir.
He's a great actor, yeah. Uh, I know he goes into voice acting, and he was, Terry from Batman Beyond,
Yeah.
the new Batman.
He was also Ron Stoppable.
Yeah, from Kim Possible.
Yeah. I wish he did more though. Like, cause I remember seeing like him in random other. He was just a funny guy. Like, I feel like he could have had a whole different career after that. Just didn't happen for whatever reason.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I like, comedy movies, definitely. And honestly, like, the times when he, like, had very serious moments
Oh,
on the
he's a good
show.
actor. He's actually a
Yeah.
good actor. Yeah. That was what would upset. That's why I would get upset though. Is that I would be reminded how good an actor he is, and then I'm like, fuck, why don't they do anything with him other than this one episode, randomly? And then the thing that didn't make sense is they would do these episodes, and then he'd be a goofball again in the next episode, and it's like, how? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. It also comes from having a large cast, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so they do make him one dimensional, but to be clear, literally everyone becomes like,
Flatter.
yeah, exactly. Like Corey's a fucking clown too by the end of the
Yeah.
show.
I think most of us who've seen the show, like a scene is that can come to mind is him yelling underpants
Yeah.
at, like, that's kind of like the way he spoke, like, started to become that way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He would do it a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but definitely Eric got the bigger, flattening of a character, which sucks, but, I guess it's better than being written out of the show to make room for, the other characters. But, yeah, I is there anything else we wanna add to this?
I don't think so. If you haven't seen it, you should try it.
Yeah, and it's very different throughout, so if you don't like season 1, go to season 2. If you don't like season 2, keep going, like, they get to high school. I think high school is, like, the most memorable,
Yeah.
for me at
Cuz I think
least.
they had a great balance. I really like when they were kids though. When on rewatches, like when I've gone back, I'm like, man, I think the humor was sharper in those first seasons, but in high school, the reason why for me it was more memorable until I went back and rewatched it, it's just I related with it so much more. Right? Like there was a
Right.
lot of things that like, you go through, but also it had the good balance of like good stories, funny, like, it was in a good place and then it just goes off the rails into the college years.
Yeah, I think, like, the earlier seasons, the in middle school seasons are more like life lessons that are reflective of that time, like love and acceptance of others and stuff like that. And then, like, when they're in college, there's more social dynamic kind of lessons to learn, like relationships.
Well, that starts in high school.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That, that's what I meant.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then college, they try to make it like, oh, well, now you're becoming an adult. I mean, I shouldn't say they try. They do make it that, but they don't feel very adult until the very end. It almost feels like, you know what
Yeah, like there's
I mean?
some episodes like where Topanga got sexually harassed by a teacher,
Hmm.
but even that had a lot of silly moments, a lot of gags, mostly from Eric. But they tried to hit those more extreme things. But also I feel like it being Disney and the time frame it was in, like I remember I read an article where Sean and Topanga there was an episode where Topanga and Corey were gonna lose their virginities at prom or something,
Mm.
and uh, the actors who play Sean and Topanga didn't really like that episode because there was no discussion of safe sex, and they felt like there should be some kind of discussion in the show talking about safe sex, especially when they were going through the AIDS epidemic during that time.
Mm.
So I feel like maybe it being ABC Family, Disney, like they had some boundaries that they don't want to cross because of religious reasons or whatever, like back then, and maybe still now for some more harder sect religions, but condoms were bad. You were a bad person if you use it. You were just supposed to be chaste.
Yeah, but you're also supposed to be married, and they weren't married at prom,
Right, right,
obviously.
right.
So I don't know. It's just
Well, again, like they're trying to, like maybe the writers were able to push to a certain extent. And you know what? They didn't have sex, I don't think. No, they didn't, because literally, like, I remember seeing clips of Corey being upset that he hadn't have sex with
yeah,
Topanga leading up to their marriage.
yeah. No, I remember the prom episode. They don't end up doing it, but still, the whole episode is about that, and there's still other like the. I mean, it's acceptable. Obviously, we know how the parents, how there's kid. If there's kids, the parents had sex, but the parents, are also in that hotel trying to get
Right.
away from the kids to also have sex. Like, so it's still a very like sex, oriented episode.
Right. But yeah, that was our somewhat random selection of Boy Meets World episodes. Oh, let us know what you think, if this is, because I think me and John talked about it, maybe doing this again for other sitcoms. But yeah, let us know what you think. You can do that on Instagram, email, Facebook, Twitter, if that still exists next week. I don't fucking know. For all I know, this episode is going to be put up and Twitter's going to be bankrupt and dead. But we're on all those social medias. You can check our link tree for all those links. And if you like this, if you like us, please rate and review us on iTunes. Leave a comment on YouTube, Spotify, all that fun stuff. Share us with other people. We would like to, we would like to get more perspectives from other people. You guys are nice. We like you. If you're new, say hi. We like you. And just share us. It's, we're nice guys. One of us likes to point out problematic things from television show, and the other one likes to tell him to shut up. Just enjoy the show.
No, but there's like way more problematic things you could point out sometimes that I'm like, I mean, I don't have an instance now, but like, oh wait, no, okay, you want something problematic?
Yeah.
Brillo Head episode. I think those white girls were racist, and we're talking about a black person.
Oh,
When they say who the character was that they were talking about, it was Dwayne, and that's not the whitest name I've ever heard.
thank you. I'm glad you mentioned. I did not pick up on that, and that helps because nowadays, a Dwayne can be anyone. But yes, no, that does sound like they were super fucking racist. But yeah, thank you for listening, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye. I don't know why I said bye like that.